Welcome, Dolphins fans, haters, and everyone in between to your favorite show discussing the greatest franchise in sports, the Miami Dolphins. This is the PhinsPod. My name is Moose, your host, and this week feels just a little bit different, doesn't it? Because over the past 7 games, the mere idea of a Dolphins run was exciting enough. But now, following Monday night's win in New Orleans, that idea has become a reality. The fact that we're a playoff contender, it's real. And we got the biggest game of the season staring us in the face. The Tennessee Titans, a viable contender in the AFC playoff picture, will host our Miami Dolphins. If the Titans win, then Miami's odds of sneaking into the postseason go down drastically. While a win would put us in the contender conversation. Oh, and toss in the storyline of Ryan Tannehill playing his old team. This game's got it all. Intrigue, drama, stakes. Let's get to it, and let's dive in. I'm nervous about this game, extremely nervous, and I know plenty of you out there are as well. And look, there's fair reason to be. One, it's because of our trauma and being Dolphins fans. We're used to them doing something amazing, bringing us to the brink of success, and then falling flat on their face. It's in our DNA, and I'm going to be honest, it colors a little bit of my analysis here because, look, it's been decades, and this team hasn't shown me that they can get over the hump. And as much as I want it, as much as I do think Brian Flores is a little different than those other coaches, it's important to realize if Miami loses these last 2 games, no matter how amazing that 7-game streak was, no matter the positives you can pull away from being able to rally the team and bring a season back to life, ultimately, they started 1-7 and finished with a mediocre record. So they need to win these 2 games to validate everything that we thought they were and what they're telling us they are. Even though they just say one day at a time, you know they're a confident bunch, and I'm glad they are. But in order for me to actually be behind you in the sense of, no, we're one of the best teams in the AFC, we have a legitimate shot. The things that we were saying in the offseason, they have to win this game. They have to close out strong. Because look, what many thought Monday night was going to be, that's what's going to end up happening on Sunday. A tough, physical, defensive matchup, likely low scoring, tight all the way through, with the winner ultimately being the team that makes the least mistakes. The reason for that is simple. The Titans are a well-coached team. They aren't flashy, but similar to our Dolphins under Brian Flores, they focus on being disciplined, fundamentally sound, and taking advantage of opponents' mistakes. They have really good run defense, good tackling. They focus on running the ball on offense and trying to keep opposing defenses off balance, utilizing the play action, as well as occasionally Ryan Tannehill's legs. They try to play old school style football, and when they're on, they're clicking, they're really good. We saw that last year. We've seen it in glimpses this year. It's why when they do have Derrick Henry, they're a much more formidable team, arguably top 3 in the AFC, if not top 2, right after the Chiefs. That's how good Derrick Henry makes them because of how good everything else is for them. The issue for them, Derrick Henry's not playing. So any of those weaknesses that he was helping to cover up, kind of like a franchise quarterback does, now they're exposed. Specifically, one of those weaknesses, our boy Ryan Tannehill. But despite the Titans being the 2nd overall seed right now in the conference, like I mentioned, without Derrick Henry, there are flaws. And the Dolphins can try to, and they should be, taking advantage of those flaws. Let's start with the matchup that I'm most concerned with, the Dolphins offense against the Titans defense. Look, some of you got on me for being a bit too harsh on Tua last week. And look, I admit, in a game where your team wins 20-3 on prime time, it's hard to find a ton of issues. That's a pretty great outcome. So I'll reiterate, I don't think Tua played poorly. He just didn't play to the level that I want to see him at, the level we drafted him 5th overall to be, and a level which can win us these last 2 games. Of course, we have a disadvantage on the offensive line, but I do think we faced a tougher challenge last week against the Saints than what the Titans have to offer. Although Bud Dupree, Harold Landry, they're good edge defenders, they sure aren't Cam Jordan and Marcus Davenport. The benefit here is the Titans don't have Marshawn Lattimore. they do have Kevin Byard. They do have Jeffrey Simmons. Byard, one of the best safeties in the league, and Jeffrey Simmons was taken in Christian Wilkins' draft class. He was kind of mentioned with Wilkins as one of those first-round prospect guys who would be great on the inside, but always what everyone knew, this is why I'm not too upset that we went with Wilkins when Simmons is proving to be probably a better player, is that you knew that Wilkins' ceiling was a little lower than what Jeffrey Simmons had to offer, but it's the other things that Christian Wilkins gives you. Leadership, intelligent football play, disciplined play. That's why you draft him high. You make him one of the faces of your franchise. Jeffrey Simmons did have issues off the field stuff coming out of college, some health stuff as well, so it does make sense why he slipped a little, but I'm happy for him that he's put it all together, and he's one of the more dominant defensive tackles in the league. So I think we both ultimately won in that case. I wouldn't look at Wilkins like, we should have taken Simmons. I am very happy to have Christian Wilkins on this team, and the only issue playing against the Titans when it comes to our running game is trying to get past Jeffrey Simmons. So, we both won in that case. This week, they probably got the advantage there. But again, they don't have Marshawn Lattimore, right? They don't have a true shutdown corner. None of them. They got Jackrabbit Jenkins. I believe he used to be Janoris Jenkins. And then they have a bunch of rookies and second-round players who aren't fully experienced. Buster Screen, formerly of the Jets. Their secondary is definitely something we can take advantage of. The issue here is whether we're going to have enough time to do that. The game plan for Miami on offense should be, as it generally always is, feel out the defense. Try to figure out what you can do. See what's working, and then lean into that. Because I hate that's what the issue is with so much talent that we have. You don't want your offense to be dictated on what the defense does well, but that's what happens when you can't do any one thing consistently. It's hard to walk into a game with a set game plan, like this is how we're going to attack the opposing defense, because when your offensive line is too problematic, you can't know for certain you're going to be able to protect the quarterback and attack them deep. You're going to be able to establish a running game. When your offensive line is so porous and inconsistent, you have to just go in and figure it out as the game goes on. Teams with good lines, they're able to carve out that identity, right? They can say, hey, we're going to go in there, we're going to expose their run defense, and then use play action to take shots downfield, and then by using the run, we're going to open everything else up. Or you can be like, look, we know they got good edge rushers, but their secondary is susceptible, and we can protect our quarterback, so let's just slice them through the air. That could be a game plan. But when you have Jesse Davis, who's also battling a knee injury, by the way, and considering how he plays when healthy, not loving the fact that he's hurt, and Austin Jackson, plus a rookie left tackle, you can't go in just relying on one thing to work. I would like Miami to try to establish a running game. The Titans are very stout there, so again, like the Saints, I'm not sure that we're going to get much on the ground with any consistency. If we do, well then everything else opens up. But assuming that's not the case, what I need Miami to do is put this game in Tua Tagovailoa's hands once again. Specifically, Miami should do what they have done best, plenty of RPO action. Like I mentioned, the Titans don't have an elite secondary. Using Waddle in motion, putting him in the slot, outside, in the backfield, it's beneficial since it's likely going to mix up his matchups. Or if the Titans do decide to have one of their guys just shadow him, that opens things up for the rest of Miami's receivers, and sending him in motion will allow Tua to see coverages on both sides of the field, try to decipher what the defense is doing so he can maximize that play's outcome. We should also be getting Albert Wilson back, so that's good when Miami is trying to spread this defense out horizontally, not that much vertically. Because again, space them out, get your guys open, and get them the ball quickly. That's what I think we're going to see Miami do, similar to what they've been doing all year. If we're able to show that we can move the ball through the air, then Tennessee is going to be forced to play more coverage-based looks. That takes some pressure off the line, and that in turn can then open up things on the ground game to stay balanced. We have to attack things reverse. Most good teams go, we start running the ball. Once they respect our run game, we can start taking deep shots. Miami, we got to do it backwards. We got to be like, look, they can cover us. They can also run the ball. We need you, Tua, despite the immense coverage, to find holes, to make plays, force them to throw even more defenders back there. So then with a lighter box, we can try to run the ball. I just don't see a scenario, though, where we end up establishing a serious running game, especially against this front. Since week 8, they have been number 2 in the NFL. Miami's obviously like racking up the statistics defensively, but the Titans have been playing a lot better than they get credit for on defense. It's why once they lost Derrick Henry, they've been able to win these games. It's not like Tannehill's playing great. That defense is playing really sound. So, considering that the Titans are going to be bringing out a much better offense than the Saints, it's imperative that we see another good to great Tua performance. High efficiency, smart completions, no matter how short they are. I do not care. Don't push the ball unnecessarily like we've seen at times. Take shots when the shots are there and protect the football. Of course, he has the capability to get hot, start pushing the ball down the field with confidence, but truthfully, we've only seen those moments in flashes. We've seen drives where all of a sudden he's throwing it 15, 20 yards down the field consistently. But again, we don't see it over and over again. It's there. I know it's there. I'm still waiting on him to put it together so we get that elite level play in, play out, rather than a couple drives in the game with other drives ending because of missed throws or poor decisions or whatever issues have cropped up for this offense. We need to eliminate as many of them as possible in order to stand a chance against the Titans, who have both a good defense and a much better offense than we saw with the Saints last week. It's only year 2 for him, right? So I'm more than willing to be patient with Tua, obviously, because like I've said before, once it clicks for him, this team is elevating to a whole new level. I believe that. Now, obviously, it'd be nice if that clicking starts this weekend, but I'll take highly efficient Tua as well. Expect Jalen Waddle to be featured prominently. I love how we're seeing the Dolphins coaches force feed him the ball. It's kind of what I wanted us to do with Gesicki last year and early this year, but Waddle, a lot more dynamic, so it makes sense that he's the focal point. It's smart, right? It doesn't just get your best weapon going and more comfortable, get him in a rhythm, but it also helps your quarterback get into a rhythm because those easy throws, they get a passer going, builds the confidence, builds the comfort in the game, and that rhythm can turn into high-level quarterbacking later in the game if you set up your quarterback early well. So a lot of short passes to Waddle, a lot of simple completions. That's what I want to see in the first and second quarter. It also forces the defense to adjust, right? It exposes them to other things. Now, I don't think this will be a big Mike Gesicki game because he's likely going to see plenty of Kevin Byard, and the Titans are pretty good at limiting tight ends. But that's why I want to see Devontae Parker step up. He was absent this past week, and although I know Miami went into a run-heavy, drain-the-clock mindset for most of the second half, it was still surprising to see him get completely erased by Lattimore. But to be fair to Parker, Marshawn Lattimore is one of the best corners in the league, and like I mentioned earlier, the Titans don't have Lattimore. If the line is unable to handle Tennessee's pass rushers at all, and it's kind of like Buffalo week 2, then obviously we're in trouble. The good news is I don't think we're going to need to be extremely potent offensively in order to win, right? This isn't our Bucs matchup where we got to go toe-to-toe with them and score points. Although this Dolphins defense against that Bucs offense, I'd be curious to see how things look. But look, Miami just needs to put together 3 to 4 good drives. Get either touchdowns, field goals, put points on the board consistently. I don't care if we keep stalling out in the red zone. I want us to get in the red zone because that means we held onto the ball, we put together a drive, we kept our defense rested, and ultimately you added points on the board. Obviously, touchdowns are paramount. You want them. But I'll take points versus us getting to midfield and then having a fourth down and having to punt the ball, which it feels like this offense does a lot. Started throwing 25, are able to get a couple first downs, and then something happens, whether it be a penalty, a drop pass, an overthrow, who knows, the drives tend to end. Miami has to put together at least 4 good drives and score points, because if they're able to do that, just get to over 20, I think they can win this one. The main reason, our defense. I talked about this in the last episode, but we need to realize how well Brian Flores' unit is playing. It's not a flash in the pan, it's who they are. It's their identity. Since they've gone back to that cover 0, amoeba front look, opposing offenses have not been able to figure it out. I'm curious to see how Miami decides to attack the Titans. Here's the thing. We know Ryan Tannehill. We know him better than Titans fans do. Sorry, it's just the truth. He was my baby. I loved Ryan. Some of you probably hated him because you just hate everything. But when he was a Dolphin, I knew what he was. I still rooted for him. I knew what he did well. I knew what he didn't do well. And what I do know is that when he's comfortable, has a good running game going, he's able to play very well. When he has a lead, he plays like top 10 quarterback level. But you can get to him. It doesn't take much. And if you do end up getting to him, unlike actual top 10 quarterbacks, he'll crumble. And I want to see the Dolphins go after Ryan. He is one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league, so you know a weakness is there. And yeah, I know that he's more than capable of making quick decisions compared to some of these other quarterbacks we faced, decisive, accurate throws, but I also know he has horrid pocket presence. I know he doesn't know when to throw and escape the pocket, and I know how well our front seven has been playing as of late. I expect the Dolphins to eliminate the Tennessee running game. They got Deontay Foreman, not Derrick Henry. Similar to last week, the amoeba front and aggressive play calling on early downs, if we do the same thing, should force the Titans into 3rd and longs, put the ball in Tannehill's hands on known passing downs. Then, Miami's allowed to be way more multiple in 3rd and long. Tannehill doesn't do well with a field flooded by defensive backs. Whenever there's way too much coverage or not with the look that he expected to get, we know him. He holds on to the ball, pats the ball, sits there in the pocket, stands there like a statue, and then when given a little time, he generally takes too much time. It's not like when the pocket is there for him, he always will slice you up. Sometimes he'll just stand there, and all of a sudden the pocket starts collapsing, and I can imagine Titans fans are like, "What are you doing? Get rid of the ball." Yeah, it's probably what's going to happen a few times and allow us to get to Tannehill in the game. Miami can also get to him multiple ways, either with coverage sacks, like we mentioned, using a lot of DBs to force him to hold the ball, right? Blanket the field, take away his weapons, force him to move through his progressions. Then, with that atrocious pocket awareness, you get him to force the ball downfield to make a decision, a bad decision, or he falls down and you sack him. His awareness, his pocket awareness, is one of the worst in the league. We know this. Or, the way I want to see Miami employ early and often, blitz the crap out of him. Employ that often. Just like, honestly, the game plan we had with the Ravens. I know the Titans are a different team. They have more of a traditional quarterback than Lamar Jackson. But similar to Lamar Jackson, once you get pressure on the guy, Tannehill crumbles. He becomes a worse passer. He could be approaching this matchup like any other week too, right? Or Tannehill will treat this like the game of his career. They have the AFC South on the line. If they do win, they do clinch the division. So there's plenty to play for them, and they're at home. He could want to stick it so bad to Flores and Greer. He could be so focused that he plays extremely well, right? One of the better games of his career. Like, you chose that guy over me? Well, screw that. I'm going to go clinch this division. He could. He could have his head in the right spot. And if that's the case, and you get a better version of Ryan Tannehill, a better version of Tannehill is a good Tannehill. And that win for us is going to be tough to get. They got talent on the outsides with Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. I know they can play, but I also know our best chance of limiting their offense is attacking the distributor, attacking the point guard, the guy who has to send the ball to A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. Hey, maybe the fact that it's an emotional game actually ends up being detrimental to Ryan. Maybe he's antsy, a little nervous, way too excited, plays a little erratically as a result. We'll find out Sunday pretty quickly. But a factor not many people are mentioning regarding this game, because everyone's talking about the Titans' solid defense, Miami's struggles on offense, but our really good defense, and how this should be like a really tight, close game. And if the Dolphins win, it'll show that they're really contenders. Everyone has their narratives. Ryan Tannehill's revenge game. We've heard it all before. But one thing that people aren't really mentioning is the familiarity that we have, not with the personnel of the Titans, but Tannehill. The whole roster, right, since we got rid of Ryan Tannehill, has been completely overhauled. The familiarity that I'm referring to is with Brian Flores and Ryan Tannehill. He has coached in dozens of games against Tannehill. Since he was drafted in 2012, Flores scouted, evaluated, game planned, and played against Tannehill for years while he was a coach in New England. Getting that intimate knowledge of his weaknesses and strengths, what makes him play well, and under what circumstances he collapses. The reason I believe in this Dolphins team isn't because I think Tua is going to take the next step on this streak. I hope that happens, but I'm not anticipating it so soon in his career. Realistically, the Tua that I expect to see completely realized, we're going to get glimpses of next year. If he does anything this year or into the playoffs, well, shit, we got a really good one. But what I do expect from this team, And what I have immense faith in is this defense. It's why I do think we are a playoff caliber team. It's our defense. From Xavier Howard and Byron Jones on the outside, two guys you know will do as good a job as any tandem in the league at minimizing A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, not prime Julio Jones, but this version who's currently on the Titans. I have faith that Eric Rowe and Javon Holland can help out and contain the Titans' tight ends, and I know that Jerome Baker can chase down Tannehill if need be and be an excellent blitzer as well when called upon. I know this defensive line is going to play tough against the run, not allow the Titans to do what they want to do, and I know that we're going to have a plan of attack, a method to our madness, when to blitz, how to blitz, where to blitz. We're seeing Miami not just play aggressive defense, we're seeing smart defense. They'll find Tennessee's weaknesses, they'll put pressure on it, and hope for them to make a mistake. I think this is going to be a low-scoring affair, but I believe the defense will play well for us, and that Tua is going to do enough to win the game. I have the Dolphins continuing their streak, climbing to 9 wins, and earning some real respect across the league, and making the dream of a playoff berth ever realer. Miami will come out of Tennessee with a win, 24-20. What do you think? Does the streak end here, or am I giving the Titans too much credit? Do you think our Fins continue on their tear and run right through them? Does Tannehill and does Tannehill have a chance? I just can't believe we're in the spot playing Ryan Tannehill. It's so fitting to close the season. The only thing in our way is Bill Belichick and Mac Jones, and then the guy we dumped. It's just very fitting, and equally as fitting as it would be for Tannehill to get revenge, it would be for us to show we made the right move, dude, moving on and getting to us. So again, let me know in the comments. Are we going to run right through them? Is it going to be a tight win? Is it going to be a tight win or loss? You don't know. Or are you worried we're going to get exposed? Let me know in the comments.
You know, you're right. He has no right to be mad at the organization. Now, if I was Ryan Tannehill, I would love to shove it up all the Miami Dolphin fans. You know what, though? Shove it where the sun don't shine, because there was not great respect. I mean, in fact, the Miami fans way more respect Tua, who's done nothing, than they did. Here we go. Yeah, sorry. Oh, eat it, Tuanon. Eat it, Tuanon. Eat it. And no, so that's where I just go, he never had the support of the fan base.
That's going to do it for us here today. Thank you guys so much for listening to the PhinsPod. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have an amazing New Year's night tonight. Be safe, be smart, but have fun. Thank you to Timothy Ritchie, Brian Guger, and Chris, members of the pod and supporters of the show over on Patreon. Check that out. Links in the description, or head to patreon.com/PhinsPod. Thank you all again for the continued support, and please remember to like the video if you enjoyed the show, and subscribe just so you never miss a chance to chat about your Miami Dolphins. Remember that PhinsPod's available on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and of course, YouTube. Continue the conversation with us on Twitter and Instagram @PhinsPod. I hope you all have an amazing day. Happy New Year. See you next year. And until next year, stay safe. Love y'all.